morning, everyone. It's so good to see you this Tuesday morning. As always, hello! And welcome to Playful Learning with the 2-Bit Circus. My name is Kate, and we're going to be exploring photosynthesis and plants today. So I'm really excited to tackle this subject with you all this morning. I love plants. I have quite a few on my balcony. I unfortunately can't keep too many in my house because my cats love to eat plants. As an example today, I know we had to have spinach, so my roommate and I have been growing a spinach plant outside. So this is all us. This is grown from a seed, and as you can see, it's doing pretty well. But I don't know if you guys at home can see, but there are some chewed up leaves, and most of the time, one would assume that this was a caterpillar, correct? Nah, this was Mr. Poseidon. Mr. Poseidon loves his greens, so he was chomping down this morning on a couple of these spinach leaves. But these plants make me so happy, and it's been helping this time while we've been stuck at home. Because essentially, people are kind of like giant plants. We need sunshine, we need water, we need food in order to grow just as big and as good as they do, correct? But what I'm going to do first today is I'm going to show you a little bit of a video from the Smithsonian. Good morning, Smita! And we're going to use that video today to help facilitate some of the harder concepts that I'm going to go over with you today when it comes to photosynthesis. Hello, green orcas! And plants. So let's go to the Smithsonian. If you've never been there, the what am I trying to say? It's great. I love museums. I love the Smithsonian. That's essentially what I was trying to say, is that if you get the chance to check out the Smithsonian, please do. When it's safer for us to all go explore our local museums, I highly suggest you do so, because it is super duper fun. But I digress. I am going to start our little video. As you can see, it's called Photosynthesis, Blinded by the Light. Blinded. She blinded me with science. Okay, wrong thing. Excuse me. But let's hear from them a little bit.
Springtime, a time of renewal, rebirth, and shorts that are probably too short for me to be wearing. As you can see, the splendor of nature is in full bloom in Ms. Reyes' classroom.
Whoa, this jade plant is growing like crazy. It must be because it has such a primo location to soak up the sun.
Well, Justine, you're certainly right that plants need sunlight to grow. But does anyone know what the plants do with the sun?
Plants use the sun to make their own food. Photosynthesis is Greek for make with light.
That's right, Dimitri. In fact, I was just about to show you all a documentary on that very subject.
Yes! I love documentaries.
Here we are in the Amazon, the world's largest rainforest. Take a moment to marvel at how plants turn mere sunlight into these massive wooden columns and leafy canopies.
Hello, old friend, and a most pleasant vernal equinox to you.
Oh, hi, Blossom. Great documentary, huh?
Well,
Uh-oh.
seeing breathtaking images of my rainforest brethren is truly a delight. But I think you might want to check where you get your videos. That narration was overgrown with inaccuracy.
Inaccurate? Come on! The narration was the best part of the whole film!
You done?
I am.
So, Blossom, where exactly did our narrator lead us astray this time? Not that I like to make a habit of agreeing with him, but I'm fairly certain that plants make their own food from sunlight, and the food, in turn, makes them grow.
Plants do make food in the presence of sunlight. I'm a bit of a gourmet chef myself. I specialize in locally sourced vegan dishes. But the energy from sunlight doesn't become the branches and leaves. Trees' new structures are actually formed mostly from carbon dioxide and water.
So that's why you weren't a fan of that documentary.
Maybe it'd be helpful to see what Amar took from the rainforest video.
Take a moment to marvel at how plants turn mere sunlight into these massive wood columns and leafy canopies.
Oh no, plants don't magically convert sunlight into some kind of leaf buffet.
Don't let your petals get all wilted, Isabella. We just need to be careful with what students take from these shortcuts. In this case, we need to make sure it's clear that energy isn't what becomes matter.
You know what? I think we're going to skip the video for now. Now, when we talk about food as it pertains to plants, yes, Justine.
Well, Dimitri said plants make their own food, but doesn't plant food come in boxes? That's another common misconception.
Your students have a lot of these, don't they?
All students who live in the world have misconceptions, and only a fool would judge them for it. If anything, misconceptions often provide great starting points for learning.
Speaking of, can we see why Justine thinks that plants rely on boxed food to grow?
Most definitely.
Alrighty, everyone. So that gave us a really great intro into plants and how they make energy and everything. I do see a question in the comments. Starks on it asked, how is one to tell the difference between a houseplant and salad? Well, not all houseplants are edible, while nearly everything in your salad should be. So there are plants that are edible and non-poisonous to us, like the spinach. I could probably pick off a leaf off of the spinach plant right now and put it in my mouth and eat it, and I'll be just fine. However, if I was to do the same thing to maybe one of my succulents outside, I probably would end up with a horrible stomach ache. So that is going to be the biggest difference between houseplants and your salad, is that your salad is edible and will not make you sick, while your houseplants are typically inedible and will not only make you sick, but it might make your pet sick as well. I don't know if any succulents are edible. However, you can use elements out of an aloe vera succulent to create aloe vera juice or gel to help out sunburns. So not every plant species or family of plants is completely going to be poisonous. You just have to do more of your research. I'm always constantly researching because scientists actually, we as humans do not have every single species of plant and animal identified on this planet. We actually survive with a lot of other organisms on this planet that we know nothing about. So the best thing to do is, if you like plants and you're interested in them and you are wondering if they're edible or what to look for, give it a Google, do some more research. Highly suggest it. Oh, I didn't know that, but apparently a good friend of ours, Tim Griffin, who is a wonderful music educator, love him, he has a song about photosynthesis. So if you're teaching photosynthesis, parents out there and teachers, not only is the Smithsonian video a great resource on YouTube, but Tim Griffin is also a wonderful resource to reach out to try to explore different sources of media that can help teach these higher concepts to your students. That's what I'm trying to say. But today we are going to be doing experiments based off of this idea of photosynthesis. So let me just get everybody started. The first thing that we do need to talk about, however, is this amazing terrarium that this gentleman named David Latimer came up with in 1972. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. 1972 is when this gentleman created this beautiful, beautiful terrarium that I'm just about to show you. Shaboop. Oh, wrong browser. Gotta make sure the browser is the right one. Haha, there we go. Okay. So, this is our lovely, lovely gentleman right here, Mr. David, with his terrarium. That's correct. So this bottle's been sealed since 1972, and he actually started this terrarium garden on Easter Sunday in the 1960s. He placed some compost in there with a quarter pint of water, and inside there he also put a spiderwort sprout, which is usually not an indoor plant. And then the only other time he opened it was in 1972 when he opened the terrarium again to add a little bit more water. Besides that garden terrarium has always been sealed in that giant bulb that you see. And it's been self-sustaining. It's a self-sufficient ecosystem. How this happens is that the bacteria inside the compost eats the dead plants, and then they break it down, which creates oxygen. The dead plants break down the oxygen that's being given off of the plants, turning it into CO2 or carbon dioxide, which is what plants take in order to start the process of photosynthesis. And oxygen is actually a byproduct. And yes, you guys, it's been sealed this entire time. Mind blown. I know. It's ginormous. So the bottle is an excellent example of a micro version of the Earth as a whole, because it has a self-sustaining ecosystem inside. You can see this garden is amazing and huge and quite self-sustaining. I'm actually going to change your image from the one with the gentleman and holding the bottle to now a closer image of the leaves that are inside. As you can see, it's very dense in there. There's quite a lot of growth, and all he needs to do is make sure that the container gets enough sunlight in order for the plants to start that photosynthesis process, because it doesn't just need carbon dioxide, it also needs water and a couple other elements as well. I see Dr. Haynes, thank you to her. She put down Tim Griffin's link to the photosynthesis song in the chat below, so click on it there if you want to go see it. Yes, sealed this entire time. I know, it's super cool. I know, it's really wonderful. So the reason why we need plants and they're so important for us to protect them is because of the fact that we breathe in what they create as a byproduct from their photosynthesis. So plants take in carbon dioxide, correct? And they expel oxygen. And what do we breathe? Well, humans, we breathe oxygen. So that's why we love having plants around. That's why a lot of florists and a lot of people who spend a lot of time with plants will often tell you to speak to your plant like so, because when I expel breath out of my mouth, it's carbon dioxide. So this spinach plant right now is getting quite a bit of carbon dioxide straight just from me talking to it. And in turn, we hope that it takes this carbon dioxide and sunlight that it needs and the water that it needs to create oxygen in turn. And that's why whenever you go out to a forest or anywhere that's super dense with a lot of foliage, such as an arboretum, the oxygen smells a little different in there, right? It's a little cleaner, it's a little fresher, it's nicer. You can get a bigger breath of air. And it's because these plants give us what we need the most, so we really need to protect them. And they're actually helping us take down that ozone layer and those horrible greenhouse gases that we have. These lovely little plants help us out so much. So as you can see now in the image in front of you, this is a lovely little broken down diagram of the photosynthesis process that we were just listening to in the cartoon. So number one, as you can see, the plant draws up water and minerals through the ground through the roots. So we can see minerals here in green, water here in blue. So the minerals and the water come in through the roots and they go up. Once we get into the leaves take in carbon dioxide from the air and release oxygen. So these leaves are extremely important. They're what take in the CO2 and in turn release oxygen, which we love to breathe. We love to have on this planet. Last but not least in this process is sunlight gives chloroplasts energy to make sugar or food. So sunlight right here shines on our lovely leaves. And remember how we were talking about plant cells and how there were chloroplasts inside there? Well, we're building on that idea. Those chloroplasts create energy in the form of sugar, which is food for the plant. So without that sunlight beaming on the leaves and without the CO2 being sucked in by the leaves and the roots taking in minerals and water, the plant would not be able to grow. So we can't just assume that plants just need sunlight and that's it. No, no, no. They need all of these things working together in order for them to get bigger and feed us, you know, because we were talking earlier that some of these plants feed us, like the spinach I have right in front of me. So now that we have a basis off of photosynthesis, I think it's time for us to delve into our experiment today. Right, friends? Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. I'm glad you all have a good time with me here because I always have a good time with you all. So parents, if you are following along with me, photosynthesis is on our playbook page 105 to 108. Today, oh, thanks. Oh, my theme table. Oh, I didn't realize that I had my flower. I love flowers. As I said, I always love flowers and plants, so I guess I'm themed well. I didn't even realize that. But today, parents, for our experiment, we're going to need baking soda, generic, or Arm & Hammer, our local favorites. Always work. You're going to need a scale of some kind. I have a kitchen scale here. No, Mr. Poseidon, no! He's trying to eat the spinach. Oh, Lord. Okay. I have a kitchen scale right here. Ooh, and it can expand. It's making funny noises at me. Okay. We've got our kitchen scale. Cool, cool, cool. We need dish soap. I'm going to be using some Dawn dish soap that I have over there. Because today we don't have sunlight, you're going to need a 100-watt bulb. Or just some sort of light, you want a light source nearby. A straw. Got my little straw right here. Spinach. My plant. We've got a clear plastic cup. And I didn't have a cooking syringe needle, but I had a pet syringe needle without a needle. So we've got our syringe right here as well. But first, what we're going to experiment with is this concept. So these are actually reused cups from my telephone no meal activity with everyone. We're all about reusing here and upcycling. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm using this tool to help me with a different experiment. So if you are reusing your telephone no meal cups, just make sure that they are closed off where there was the hole that you made for the string to come through. Otherwise, this experiment won't work so well. You're also going to need 2 tea lights. And I highly suggest that there is parental supervision for this, since we are playing with fire. And we don't want any small fingers getting hurt by this fire. So what I'm going to do is, I don't have a plant small enough. I wish I had a tiny plant, but all my plants are huge. But I think I'm going to try to use some of those spinach leaves. Hopefully it works the same. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just, but it's an experiment, so we'll see. I am going to put both of these tea lights in under one of these cups. My control, or the one that's going to be what we put the basis of our experiment on, is just a regular tea light underneath a cup. The experimental one that we're using is going to have these few little spinach leaves in there, since we were told that CO2 is taken in by the leaves, correct? So we're going to sniff up some of our spinach leaves and maybe sneak it under the cup with this one and see how this experiment goes for us. This might be an absolute fail, and I might need to go get actually a tiny little plant. But we shall see, we shall see. Alrighty. So, friends, this is what I have in front of me. I've got my 2 little candles, my leaves, that I'm going to put under this one. I'm going to make sure that this cup gets surrounded by foliage. Let me go get some fire. How does dressing affect photosynthesis? Well, dressing is usually an oil or a sauce of some kind, correct? So that covering on top of the lettuce leaves probably would cloud up some of the direct sunlight that those plants are able to receive. So I would expect photosynthesis to happen a lot slower if you were to cover a leaf with salad dressing. But definitely worth experimenting. I might give it a try myself. Stop trying to make salad happen. It's not going to happen. So, as you can see, I've lit. Oh no, that's not a word, Kate. I've lit both of my tea candles. And you can see this one is around the spinach leaves. This one has no spinach leaves. Both of my cups are exactly the same with the tape on top so that there is no oxygen that can go through. And let's see, I'm going to cover both of them like so. And which one do you think is still going to be lit by the time that I remove these cups? Do you think it'll be the tea light by itself? Or do you think it'll be the tea light with the leaves? Well, let's see. Well, that one's out. Well, that one's out too. That did not work out the way I wanted it to. However, if you were to put a small plant in there, Andy and Ian is right. It's supposed to be the one with the lettuce leaves. This light is still supposed to be on, in theory, if you put a plant inside there, because of the fact that the plant leaves will take in the CO2 and in turn give out oxygen, which helps the flame stay on. That's how fire works, is that not only does it need an incendiary device, but it also needs to have oxygen in order to stay on. That's why if you put a flame in a bell jar, or you see those flame toppers that just close the flame entirely, that's to cut off its oxygen source. So without oxygen, fire can't exist. Just so you know. Oh, that's true. Glass cups. I could try glass cups and see which one goes out first. That's a good idea, Andy and Ian. Let me see if I can experiment with that. I'll be right back. Let's see. I've got big old pint glasses in here somewhere. All right. Okay, Andy and Ian. I see you. I've got clear glasses. Let's give this a go. All right. Let's try this again. Clear glasses. Clear glasses. Let me change my camera angle for you all. See if we can get this a little better. Excuse the behind the scenes. All right, let's try this again, folks. We are en flambe. En flambe. We have leaves. We have no leaves. I'm about to put the lids on at the same time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see which one goes out first. We're watching, we're watching. A little leaf got snuck into this one. Hopefully it doesn't change it. Oh, you saw it happen. This one went out first. You can see the smoke. And then this one went out. Ah, thank you. Thank you for the idea, Andy and Ian. It worked. Okay, you saw it right there with me. You did. The one with the leaves in it stayed on just a hair longer than the one without any oxygen at all. Super cool. So photosynthesis works. It works, my friends. It is true. It is what happens. This is how we change science theories into science facts. is we are always trying to experiment, correct? Okay. We could put the tea lights to the side. They aren't part of the rest of our experiment today. But hopefully that gave you a little bit of an insight into watching photosynthesis happen in real time. I know, it's crazy. Crazy. Okay, but we're getting back to the original prompt from today. Okay, so the first thing that we all need is we need to make a solution out of 1/2 gram of baking soda and 2 cups of water. Stir it until it's fully dissolved. Okay, well, I've got my, got my scale out here. Turn on, Mr. Scale. There we go. I usually like to get a water measuring cup to do water measurements because dry measurements are different than water ones. Okie dokie. Artichoke. That's right, Mr. Poseidon. We're gonna go play with everybody. Come on. Come join me. Okay. So, all of the things. Okay. I have my little clear container here, so we need 1/2 gram of baking soda. Oops. Well, okay, so I see that my container weighs 9 grams. So, I need to pour in enough baking soda to get me to 9.5 grams. Oops. Now it's saying 10 grams. Okay, I poured in enough. Okay, and 2 cups of water. All right. Well, that's about 2 cups of water right there. So 1/2 gram, we put into those 2 waters. Stir until it's dissolved fully. Okay, so I'm gonna stir. Stir. All right, we are dissolved fully. Our next step is to get some dish soap. A few drops of dish soap. Okay, a few drops of dish soap. We can do that. You can get small containers at your local supermarket or drugstore, whatever you have. So a few drops. Whoa, whoop. I think that's good. And we stir again so we can have bubbles on the surface. Hopefully I get some bubbles. Otherwise I'll have to pour more soap in here. Oh, looks like we're gonna need more soap. Hopefully not too many bubbles. We don't want too many bubbles either. Okay, here we go. There we go. That's a few more bubbles on the surface. That's what we're looking for. Okay. Okay. So we're good to go still. Okay, now we're going to use our straw to cut out holes out of the spinach leaves. And we have to make 10 spinach circles. Okay. 10 spinach circles. 1. Oop. Oop. Come on, Mr. Spinach. Okay, 1. 2. 'Oh no. We gotta push the straw in a little stronger, otherwise it won't come out. There we go. 3. 4. 5. Oop. 6. No, Mr. Poseidon. He's trying to eat my spinach plant today. Stark's on it. I think you need lunch. You keep talking to me about salad. I think you need lunch. But you're definitely definitely making me think of a salad for lunch, because now I want one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. We just need 3 more. 8, 9, 10. And as you can see, I reused the leaves that I used in our first experiment. Again, just try to think out of the box on how you can reuse these simple things so that we're not being so wasteful with all the things that we have. Ah, I see why you're talking about salad is because you want your salad ingredients. Well, that makes a lot of sense. All right. Okay, so now it says to remove the plunger from the syringe. So this is the plunger. This is the syringe. And put the spinach circles inside. All right, I will put my spinach circles inside. Being very gentle. They are leaves after all, so they're still quite fragile. Thank you, Starks, on it. And I will agree with you. Cubed mango inside of a salad is amazing, especially in a spinach salad. Agreed. Can't even deny that. And it's mango season, too. I have some mangoes in my refrigerator right now. And I'm looking forward to those babies getting ripe and me eating them. Okay, and now I put the syringe back in. So what I have in here is my 10 leaves and my syringe. That's true, Dr. Haynes. Mango inside almost anything is amazing. This is facts. Okay, and we're gonna pour the solution into. Do you want these spinach leaves, Mr. Poe? Look at this, folks. I don't know if you can see him right now. I'm gonna change my camera up just a little bit so you can see him. But look at this. Look at this little hungry monster eating his spinach leaves. He's a hungry hippo. He just wants, I'll just give him those so that he can let us be a little bit. Oh my goodness me. Goodness me. Okay, our next instruction says for us to pour the solution into a cup. Well, it already is in a cup of some sorts. And draw 8 milliliters of the solution into the syringe. 8 milliliters. Oh dear. I've got a short one that can only bring in 3 millimeters. But I will do what I can. I will go with the full 3. Cause I've got a tiny syringe. So try to make sure that you have a much larger syringe than I do. All right, I've got my spinach in here with my solution. What is next? Push the air out of the syringe using the plunger. Okay. So we're gonna push the air out. We're gonna flip the syringe this way, up and down. Vertical, as you can see, and we're going to push that air out. Ooh, boy. Just all the air. All the air. Okay, that's about all the air. It looks like it's all liquid and spinach now in here. And now it says cover the tip of the syringe with your finger and pull gently on the plunger to create a vacuum. All right? So my finger's on here. I'm going to pull gently to create that vacuum. Sure is happening. Sure is happening. Let go. Oh, bubbles coming out of the spinach. Well, that's certainly happening. We can see those bubbles in the spinach right there. Remove my finger. Okay, I removed my finger. Repeat this process until the spinach sinks to the bottom. All right. Okay. So we got to push out more air. Push out more air. Push out more air. Oop, a little too much air. And we go again with the vacuum. All right. Oh, and little bubbles. There we go. All right. And we go again. We push out a little bit of the liquid. All the air. Oh, there we go. And back on with the finger vacuum. All right. And again. Cool. We're going to keep going. Got to have some patience. But, I mean, you can see what's happening. It's pretty cool. We're getting there. We're getting there. All these babies are almost going down. Yes, you can see them, huh? Stark's on it. We're just gonna keep pushing though. Oh, no, wait. Nope, I think we gotta keep going. Because not all the spinach, leaves are at the bottom yet. So we gotta make sure that's happening. All right. Looks like we got there. Okay. Okay, well, the spinach has sunk to the bottom. It has. Okay, so we're gonna remove the plunger and pour the spinach back into the cup of liquid solution. The spinach should settle to the bottom of the cup. All right. Well, I'm going to take out that plunger. Ooh, just like they said. Oh, I should have done that over my cup. It's all right. That's why I put this cardboard down to protect my table. Oh, and look at that, ladies and gentlemen. All my spinach has sunk to the bottom of my cup. That is right. Look at that. Well, all you can see is my big, but you can see it right there. Those little green things at the bottom. That's the spinach. Alrighty. So let's see what is next for us in this experiment. Okay. Put the lamp above the glass of solution and turn it on. Watch as the light causes a reaction in the spinach leaves, causing them to float to the top as oxygen is generated during photosynthesis. Ooh, okay. All right, okay. So let me move this at an angle where you can see it. You can see my spinach in that solution. Let's see if these lights will help create that change that we need. So I've put my light on here, and we will see if these spinach bulbs will rise up to the surface. But as Mike said, yes, I pulled all the oxygen out of the cells of the spinach. So that's why they're sunk at the bottom, and that's why we float in water, is because we're mainly made out of air and water too. We float. No, Mr. Poseidon! Oh, goodness. Mr. Poseidon has eaten more of the spinach. Oh, no. I've got to feed him this one now. Mr. Poseidon, eating my plants. Oh, no. I think I might need more intense light. Let's crank up the light. Crank up the light. This is why it specifically asks you for 100-watt bulb, so that the strength of the light could be a little better. I don't know if my lights are strong enough to get them to float, but we'll leave them here for a little bit and come back to it to see if anything has changed. Why don't we go back, however, to that video? Excuse me. And while we're waiting on some of these spinach leaves to lift, we're going to continue that video and see what else Mrs. Reyes' class had to say and discover about photosynthesis. Boo, boo, boo. Let me make sure you're on the same screen. Hi, Shema. Nope. Mama. Oh, no. Okay, there we go. All right, let's go back to the classroom. Let's see what else we can find.
Magic Grow Plant Food. It's the food your plants crave. Pour it on, and your plants will grow, grow, grow. Disclaimer: Magic Grow Plant Food does not utilize actual magic.
I don't blame Justine for calling something that helps plants grow food. But as a member of the plant community, nothing you give me is my actual food. Plants' food is sugar we make ourselves by linking together atoms from carbon dioxide and water.
But if it helps you grow, what's the harm in calling it food?
Well, if you want kids to really understand the difference between plants and animals, it all comes down to chemistry. And food is pretty interesting chemically. The special thing about food is that it has to be both a source of chemical energy and a source of building materials for growth.
Sorry, all this talk of food is making me hungry. Anyway, please continue.
As I was saying, the special thing about plants is that we can make food through the photosynthesis reactions out of stuff that's not food. You poor animals have to scavenge it from other organisms. Calling fertilizer plant food does a disservice to the power of plants.
Ah, so that's what you mean by flower power.
Okay, we've got some interesting ideas on the table. Now let's think back to those giant canopy trees in the rainforest documentary. Where do you think they get enough food to grow that big?
Well, if there's no one feeding them plant food from the box, I guess it's gotta come from somewhere else, like the soil. Another common response. It looks like Justine isn't quite connecting her chemistry with her biology.
Oh, totally. Wait, what do you mean by that?
It's difficult for students to think of a gas, like carbon dioxide, being able to form something as massive and substantial as a giant tree. But a chemical reaction doesn't have to start with a solid, like soil, and end with a solid, like a tree. Looking at the equation for photosynthesis is one concrete way to explain the chemical process. Take carbon dioxide plus water in the presence of light energy to make glucose or sugar and oxygen.
I knew that.
You do know a lot about taking up oxygen in a room, that's for sure.
Patience, my sprouts.
Oh man, once I get my students to memorize the photosynthesis equation, these misconceptions should die off like weeds with a hefty shot of herbicide.
I appreciate your enthusiasm and plant-based similes, but having students interpret the equation is only part of the overall strategy. Going back to Justine, she's having trouble imagining how something as insignificant as gas contributes to all that wood.
Hey, I'm a science teacher, and sometimes the thought is surprising even to me.
It is pretty staggering, but it can be really helpful to have students reason through other examples of simple chemical reactions in which gases contribute to solids, like rust, for example.
I've got my work cut out for me, but I'm grateful for your help.
Thank you, and you're welcome. It's a perfect cycle of gratitude. Now that everyone's gone, would either of you care to try my chocolate caramel bread pudding?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Great! I substituted spelt for the bread, kale for the chocolate, and celery powder for the caramel. It's divine!
I actually just remembered I left something in the teacher's lounge.
Yeah, me too.
To discover more about how kids learn science and the types of misconceptions they might have, visit us online at scienceeducation.si.edu/goodthinking.
All right, and that is the end of that video. So hopefully that gave you. Oh no, they're going to the next one. Woo! Stop. There we go. So hopefully that made a little bit more sense to everyone about the process of photosynthesis. So as the teacher was explaining, physical, actual solids, material that we have, it doesn't necessarily have to be solid in order for it to become another matter when it becomes expelled, or for it to be used as energy. As humans and as mammals, we often take the concept of food, something solid, as being the source of all energy, but that's not necessarily the truth when it comes to plants, because carbon dioxide is something that they have to take in, and that's not a solid, it is actually a gas. That is something that they have to take in, that is part of the photosynthesis project. And without CO2, the plant cannot feed itself. It needs all of these different elements put together in order for it to be successful and for it to grow. If either it's lacking CO2, sunlight, water, or the correct minerals that it needs to live in, it will die. And that's when you get plants that look yellow because it's been too oversaturated with water. Or plants that are a little dry, just like this poor little spinach leaf. That means it didn't have enough water. That means that it needed a little bit more when it's dry. But when it's super yellow, that really yellow color you see, that means it's overwatered. And then your leaves can also tell you how healthy they are by how big they can grow, and what direction they're kind of growing in will teach you as to which direction the sun really favors, where this plant is compared to the rest of the things that are around this plant or other plants that you might have around it. Today is a bit of an overcast day, but that does not mean that the sun is not shining. That just means that we can't see it. Oh, and actually, I'm looking at our little experiment in the corner, and I already see some spinach leaves rising a little bit from the bottom. Not as fast as they typically would because there is no direct sunlight right now. But as I explained to you, overcast days still have a bright sun burning through it. It's just burning through the cloud layer that we see. Which is why most people can get severe sunburns on an overcast day versus a super sunny day, because they are less likely to feel the heat from the sun, but you will still get burnt regardless. Yep, you still have to wear sunscreen. That's right, Stark Sonnet. And just like us, plants need gases as well. They can't live in an atmosphere that is free of any gas at all, because of their process with photosynthesis and our process as animals with respiration. That's why we have a I think I'm correct when I say symbiotic relationship. Yes, I've got an overcast sunburn too, Andy and Ian, and it was not fun. But if you guys need the formula for photosynthesis, it is written like so. Let me go get my notebook and my pen for you all. Sometimes reading is not enough for me, and I need to write down things myself. So it's always good to have a notebook nearby, just in case you need to write down any sort of ideas. Actually, I'm going to use my notes because that's a different notebook. Okay, so the formula, let me change your camera view so you can see my hands. Probably important, right? Okay. All right, you're going to see my hands. Let's get you some light over here. Perfect. Okay, there we are. So, the formula for photosynthesis looks like this. 6 CO2, or carbon dioxide, plus 6 H2O, or water, plus light energy, leads to C6H12O6, or sugar, plus 6O2. So, where we get this from is that 6 elements of CO2 need to exist, plus 6 elements of water, because this is carbon dioxide. This is water, plus light energy, because we don't have a scientific breakdown for it yet, equals carbon 6, hydrogen 12, oxygen 6, which is the fancy way to say sugar, and 6 oxygen 2. Now, where we get all of these numbers is based off of the fact that there are those many elements that are being brought into this equation. So carbon dioxide plus water plus light energy equals sugar, and the release of oxygen that we get from plants. So if I were to write this, so this is the scientific way to write this equation. This is it broken down. So essentially, what we're trying to say is carbon dioxide plus water plus light energy equals photosynthesis, which is sugar and oxygen. Those are the two things that are released when you add the carbon dioxide, water, and light energy together inside of a plant. Conservation of matter. That's right, Mike Two-Bit, and I'm sure Robert has remembered that from Friday as well. Matter is neither created nor destroyed. It's simply just reshuffled. So hopefully these were 3 different ways to help you understand this equation a little better, whether you go for the straight scientific formula, more of a word formula style, or just words in general, so that you can understand the concept. Breaking it down this way, parents and teachers, can sometimes help your learner get the same concept right here without getting so lost in all of the fancy numbers and letters. This can be very confusing. A lot of people don't know what these chemical compounds are straight off of their head. So sometimes for our younger workers out there, we might want to just write it down in words so that they can understand what those concepts are to begin with. Instead of pushing out a formula like this, which can look very daunting as well as overwhelming to a lot of small minds. Oh my goodness. Oof, I forgot. A little. Okay. I'm going to bring back our spinach plant because I need you guys to see this. This is super cool. I just looked to the side and I got really, really, really excited. I did, because I looked over and I was like, oh my gosh, it's changed. It's different. So let me bring this to you guys. This is super cool. I'm really excited right now. I'm tickled. Okay, friends. Look at my spinach. Okay, I don't know. Let me see if I can help you with this angle. Okay, so as we can see, some of them have come to the top because they have regained some oxygen that they needed in order to float. But it didn't hit everybody because you can see there's still some being mildly suspended. Oh, let me give you a clear area to see. Mildly midway suspended in the water right about here, as well as we still have some buddies at the bottom still. They haven't gained enough oxygen yet. But you can see in the final stages of our experiment right here that it did work, that some of them did come up to the surface after we put it out in sunlight, even though it's an overcast day. As I said, again, overcast day doesn't really mean too much. An overcast day just means that you can't directly see or feel the sun's heat with your ocular senses. So, what does this prove to us, everyone? What does the fact that these spinach leaves came to the top mean? Oh yeah, I love my plant buddies. My plant buddies are my favorite buddies. Yes, plants would starve if they didn't have all those things. Yeah, I know. It was really quick, right? I think I only left it over there for 5 to 10 minutes and it was already happening. So, I mean, this is a wonderful way to really view photosynthesis in action, unless you were going to put your camera on a time lapse outside next to your plants and watch them move and grow day by day. And I've seen wonderful time lapses of that in action, but it takes a very long time, my friends. It's not something that we can just sit and watch and enjoy. These plants move at micromillimeters at a time. But this is a great way that we can experiment and see it for ourselves. So all of these little spinach leaves that we see in the top here have gained their oxygen back that I had pushed out. Remember when I was using the syringe to push out all the oxygen and then put my finger on the top to create a vacuum? Well, that was, in theory, supposed to be pushing out all the oxygen that the spinach leaves created, which definitely happened. That's why they sank to the bottom. And then they regained oxygen by being out in the sunlight for a little bit. And that's why they're back at floating at the top of the water, the solution, instead of at the very bottom. Yes, Andy and Ian, it is a great alternative to shrinking your class in a magic school bus to travel inside a plant. I think that the only person who can do that is Miss Frizzle. And I always wanted to be a part of her class. So, my question to everybody here is, what were the similar concepts that we saw in this experiment, as well as the experiment that we saw with the tea light candles and my spinach leaves, the one that we did just before this? What were some of the things that we observed in common? Well, we observed that plants do release oxygen. That's why the tea light didn't burn as fast in its iteration with the leaves, because the fire lasted a lot longer underneath that glass than the other one. We also found that, again, we proved the existence of oxygen in plants with the experiment with the spinach leaves and them floating to the top of the solution. So those would be the two main common things that we discovered today and what related those two experiments together. If you want to explore a little more, I suggest you start growing your little garden of your own. You can use anything that you have, even stems that have been cut off from veggies that you've already used, like onion bulbs or pineapple tops, stuff like that. You can always use your cuttings to start your own garden. You don't need to have seeds or buy a lot of money in order to do that. And you can make your own compost by using some of the food waste that you have in your house. So any cuttings from plants, or even if you have animals, that's kind of why what they use for fertilizer. Fertilizer often has the excrement of certain animals, such as cows, because the minerals inside that are very good for plants, and the plants love it, love it, love it. And of course, always make sure that your plants have the ability to get the sunshine that they need. Not every plant needs direct sunlight or a lot of sunlight. And if you find that you are bored while we are physically distancing from each other, grab your plant buddy and just talk to it for a little bit. Maybe tell it how your day was, because your discussion with the plant will not only help the plant because you're providing CO2 with your out-breath, but it's providing you with oxygen in turn because of its byproduct. And you know, Starks on it, you're right. I do have to be very careful with my plant buddies because Poe does get jealous. I know you didn't see it all, but he was going to town on this plant. This plant was going to be his lunch for the day. So, to go over everything that we did today, we discovered the concept and the idea of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process of how plants gain its energy and they grow bigger over time. Plants have to have light energy, so sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water in order for it to grow. In turn, it will take those three components and turn it into sugar for food for the plant and oxygen for everybody else. That's something that gets expelled by the plant. These concepts, while they take a long time and you cannot view them with the naked eye, you can do experiments with the spinach leaves or with the tea lights, as you saw, and instead, those will give us little snippets into the process of photosynthesis in a manner that we can see for ourselves so that we don't have to wait a long time for. What else can I tell you about our plants? All I want to say about our plant buddies are that I think we should pay more attention to them, try to grow as many as we can, because they, as I said today, we could always use more oxygen, right? So the more plants we have, the more oxygen we have. And in turn, they provide not only food for us, but food for our other animals and bug friends. And they use these too to create things that we love, such as eggs or honey or even your next salad that you might have later on today. But that is a wrap up of our class today about our plant friends and photosynthesis. I hope you all had a lovely time with me here today, because I had a great time showing all of my plant friends to you, and maybe some other time I'll take you out into our little sustainable garden that we've made for ourselves. If you are interested in doing experiments just like today, or joining us in any of the cool activities that we do have an archive of over 30 lessons that are available in our playbooks online on our website at www.2bitcircus.org. Thank you to Vance for providing those for free still to the general public. We also have kits that you can order from us on that same website, where you can build your own universal recycling machine or balloon races. We have all sorts of kits ready for your order and sent to your home, and you can follow us along using our archive on YouTube or Facebook. I believe we stream live on all of these platforms all at once. Tomorrow we will have the ever amazing and ever lovely Evelyn to teach you a new concept tomorrow. But that's it from me, Kate, your Tuesday girl. I hope you had a wonderful time today with me and the 2-Bit Circus. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and let me know about your little plant friends. I'm gonna go spend time with my spinach plant. Bye!